If water is the base drink, what is the base food? Your local carb. Rice in some places, wheat in others, and circa as someone else has pointed out, from rice to bread to corn it's all cultivated grass. Wait, so we're all just cows? We've always been. Some more so than others. My wife is more cow than the average person. She has a piece of bovine heart sac in her spinal column. Definitely change the order of those sentences when you tell that story in real life. My wife is more average person than the cow. My wife is more average than the cow person. My average is more person than the cow wife. IDK man, I am confused, I'm sorry. I was gonna say something about how you mixed up words with sentences, but every sentence you produced was more hilarious than the other, so I chose to remain silent. I have no regrets. This is why Reddit is my happy place. Halfway through I was like, damn, brutal, lol. Had me in the first half, not gonna lie. Had me in the first calf, not gonna moo. FTFY. Thought the first sentence was the beginning of a sick burn on your wife. Was prepared for this to be an insult, not the story of having actually parts of a cow in her. When reading the first part, one was thinking to myself, obviously this guy's wife either doesn't use Reddit or has no idea of his username. This made me lol. This made me moo. Canine teeth and status as top predators seem to disagree with that statement. We're bears, then. I can get on board with that. If you add 99% of the other comments. We are bears that bake bread. Cows, and most animals are opportunistic carnivores. They'll eat baby animals, especially ground nesting birds, that are easily caught, or munch on remains including bones. Being an herbivore is easy because you tend to have options, and their bodies are optimized for it. But few animals are going to turn down meat, bones due to the nutrient content and just the novelty of it. I'm not saying every animal will 100% of the time will eat meat. But it happens way more often than people realize. Your mom is, at least. Well done, sir. Well, that's something to ruminate on. No, cows are nice to be around. Moo moo, moo. Let me introduce you to the potato. What's taters, precious? Grass seeds to be specific. My teacher used to say if you are what you eat, then all life is grass. Actually, sunlight, water, and trace elements. But mainly energy from fusion. Those are just the ingredients for grass. Forgot potatoes but not potatoes, which are base in some areas. I.e., forgetting about the potato. Potatoes. The potato, as wondrous and historically important as it is, does not pervade all societies as grasses, wheat, maize, barley, spelt, rice do. It does deserve respect, however. Read The History and Social Influence of the Potato, by Redcliffe Salomon. Boil 'em, mash 'em, put 'em in a stew. Stick. Boil 'em, mash 'em, put 'em in a stick. I don't think that's right either. What is a potato? I'd argue specifically that grain is a porridge. Bread or rice are cooked with actual rules and ingredients, and there is a lot of technique and ways to elevate it. Porridge is just soak grain in liquid then eat it later. And if you eat it much later, it becomes beer. The ancient Egyptians' early beers were likely fermented porridge with the alcohol content of cough syrup. Yams in South America slightly unrelated, but I could happily live on various combinations of wheat flour, cheese, tomato, for the rest of my life. Pizza, cheese and tomato toasty, cheesy pasta with tomato sauce, etc. The list goes on. Manioc tapioca has lots of different names. I don't know why, but I just scrolled a lot and didn't see it on here. It's gotta be most common base carb after rice and maybe bread in the world. Most of the global tropics it's very common. The mouth was made to eat millet. Came to say something along that line of thought. Carbs, rice, potatoes, etc. Absolutely this. Breads and pastas are rarely the main flavors. They're mainly vessels to deliver flavors. Sandwich and burger meats and cheeses. Sauces with the pastas. Chemically it would have to be sugar. Culturally it depends on the region. In my area, northwestern Europe, it is bread, sugars, salts, fats, oils, protein. I think when you mix it together you're going to end up with essentially breast milk. Boobas base food confirmed. The most base D food. Whoa, there Ken Bone, you didn't have to specify. Breast milk. I could have gone with human milk, but it's an important distinction. Different species need different nutrients, and only your own species' milk has everything you need in the right proportions. It would suggest that proteins are needed for elements such as nitrogen and phosphorus. Salts pick up most of your other minerals, and fats and oils are generally just longer-chain hydrocarbons for the most part. IIRC. Everyone responding here isn't paying attention to your comment that it is sugar based on chemistry. Sugars are the building block for all carbs. So it makes sense to look at sugar as the simplest food even if it tastes special. Bread, like the old saying, bread and water, about sums it up. Beer has it all in one. Liquid bread. Bread sauce, bread soda. I like the term oat soda or barley pop. Bread in the West, and rice in the East. You can tell because a lot of Eastern cultures use the word for rice to mean food in general, and a lot of Western cultures do the same for bread. Asa Gohan, Hiru Gohan, Ban Gohan, morning rice, midday rice and evening rice. This is like the word al-Aish, which means the living, in Arabic. It's the name for bread in Egypt, and the name for rice in the Persian Gulf. Egypt's cuisine is more Mediterranean, while the Gulf is influenced by Persia and India. Give us this day our daily bread, exactly. I figure we can say, grain, and leave it at that. Corn. In Old English, corn was any grain. When contact with South America began and maize started to appear in Europe, English-speaking people called it corn, because it was a grain and they didn't have a more specific word for it. The name just sort of stuck, until maize became the only thing people called corn. So in English the base food is corn, but in the old sense of the word, not in the modern common usage sense. This is also why peppercorns are called peppercorns. Pussy in the sheets, lady in the streets. Kitten wearing fleece. Porridge would be one step more base. Historically, culinarily speaking, pretty much every culture has some form of bread. It's the best answer, emo, but you have to process other shit to make it. Things like rice and potatoes and corn are ready to eat after harvest as long as you clean and cook them. Rice and maize are always processed in some way if they are going to be stored. And it's the ability to be stored that makes them important. You can't harvest anything every day. Rice with rice. 10 out of 10. Thank you for your suggestion. Can confirm rice with rice. 5/7 perfect taste. AMA damn it, Brendan. Reddit was a simpler place back then. Crazy that Op could now test this one out, since they were 14 then. Bold of you to assume he survived American public school. I was hoping to see this thread come up again. Thanks. This is the funniest thing I've seen in like a week and has markedly improved the quality of my day. Can I have a side order of rice with that? Grass. Wheat, rice and the major grains are just well cared for. Grass. Corn is technically a grass as well. IIRC. I think potatoes are the only staple food that isn't a grass. There are plenty of other tubers and legumes. But huge swaths of N&S America, Asia and Europe largely grows some sort of grass. Cow is also well cared for. Grass. And beans. MF potatoes. Boil M, mash M, stick M in a stew. What's taters? Precious. Potatoes. Potatoes. Let's call the whole thing off. Potaei tufts. Potagh tufts. Ferment em. This. Plenty here saying rice or bread, but only the potato technically contains all the essential amino acids. I remember reading once that a person could live indefinitely off of nothing more than potatoes and butter. It covers every nutritional requirement. I could live off that. Haha, as an Irish, I say yes. And molasses. What's a potato? Tastes very strange. I did not ever even hear of a potato. Potatoes, like other nightshades, tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, squashes, etc., are indigenous to the Americas, so they didn't exist outside of mostly South America until the Columbian Exchange, roughly 500 years ago. Potatoes have only been available to most people for a tiny fraction of human existence. Cries in Latvian. No potato. Only rock potato bread. With rice. Daring today, aren't we? And pasta on the side. In a bread bowl. Grass. It was the cultivation of grass seed as a foodstuff that drove agriculture in pretty much every civilization that progressed beyond the hunter-gatherer stage to become city builders. From rice to bread, it's all just grass seed. Corn is also grass indeed. That's sort of my point. All around the world it was the cultivation of grasses that was the key driver in moving civilization forwards, and this can be seen in cultures that were geographically separate by thousands of miles and still independently followed this same step. What about potatoes? Boil M, mash M, stick M in a stew. Bread is life, bread is happiness, bread is joy. I like bread, I am bread, bread, bread. Are you bready? The souls of the innocent crunchy good with pasta, a bagel, no. 2 bagels, grains, yep, rice or bread. Reminds me of vegan zombies. Isn't water pretty much the only drink? Any other drink is just stuff dissolved or suspended in water. In theory one could drink other liquids like oils, but is that ever done? Edit. Jesus Christ. Milk and fruit juice is 90% water. Okay. It's exactly, just stuff dissolved or suspended in water. Stop bringing it up as counterexamples. What about BRAWNDO? The thirst mutilator. It's got what plants crave. It has electrolytes, which is what plants crave. Brought to you by Carl's Jr. Brought to you by Carl's Jr. This guy doesn't know about distilled spirits, and has never once chugged a carafe of warm butter. Distilled spirits, how much are you distilling yours, until it's pure ethanol? Breast milk still a liquid. Glucose, essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, and vitamins. Breatharian's base food and drink is air. Potatoes, chicken. When the food designer forgets to override the base class, it always tastes like chicken flour. I can't believe how far down this is. You can literally make hundreds of different things with flour as the base. Eggs, bread, meat, berries, barley, cultivated for 10,000 years. C6H1206, aka glucose, the main chemical besides water that is required for homeostasis in all living organisms. Meat. All these people saying variations of carbs. People, you will die if you only eat carbs. This was my thought too. Bread is a processed food, so doesn't really work as a base food. And most forms of carbs, rice, potatoes, etc., weren't available to everyone throughout history. But we've been eating meat since before we were Homo sapiens. Glucose, just going to the glucose fields to pick my daily calories in glucose. I'm unaware of a food that's straight glucose. Not naturally occurring, but IV drips in the modern Western food system. It is corn, not so much in Europe. USA, not Europe. A big lump with knobs, it's got the juice. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. I put butter on it and everything changed. In the USA, which subsidizes corn, maybe fruit. Domino's double pepperoni pizza. Glucose, grains, potatoes. I mean, you can do just about anything with a potato. Potatoes. Boil M, mash M, stick M in a stew. Crunchwrap Supreme bread for any West or Western-based countries. Rice for Eastern-based countries. Probably milk for Africa. What with evolving to get rid of lactose intolerance when humans were there. If the metric for base food is the most bare bones component our bodies use in respiration, it would be glucose. Taters, precious potatoes, Cheetos, fruits and vegetables, sausage, mash and gravy. Rice in the East. Bread in the West. To the point where the casual way of saying, having a meal, or eating food, in Chinese, eat rice. Similar to breaking bread. Pizza. It has everything you need. Gotta be rice. Shrimp. Anyway, like I was saying, shrimp is the fruit of the sea. You can barbecue it, boil it, broil it, bake it, sauté it. There's shrimp kebabs, shrimp creole, shrimp gumbo. Pan-fried, deep-fried, stir-fried. There's pineapple shrimp, lemon shrimp, coconut shrimp, pepper shrimp, shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp burger, shrimp sandwich. That's about it. Bratwurst, rice-a-roni, but only if you live in San Francisco. I thought they were rebranding to be the Miami treat. Neat ice cubes from a biological standpoint. Kime bacon, gruel, eggs, water, chestnut. Flaming hot Cheetos, mayo. Depends on where you live for this one. Tacos, carb on. There's only one thing on the planet that you could eat exclusively, which would provide all the nutrients needed to sustain life. Everything tastes like chicken, potato, rice. Why has no one said beans, rice, or wheat, rice, bourbon? Either bread, potato, or rice if you're Asian. Rice. Air rice, bread, potato, rice. Bread, dirt, your local carb. Rice in some places, wheat in others, and circa carbohydrates, up to where you live. Carbon, carbs. Rice, wheat, potatoes. Human food, rice and beans, carbohydrates. Initially that was fruit to our ancestors. In some human societies it became grain, which we were processing before we developed agriculture, early forms of wheat or rice or corn or root starch. I would say bread, but it has to be made. Maybe apples, but they might not grow in some places, and it would only be true if you were religious. It'll be something we can all acquire easily and all can eat. In some countries, they won't have the base drink. Rice you guys really missed on the opportunity to have. It's corn, as top comment tears of joy apple. It's for assholes and basic bitches. Guess who has 2 thumbs and an apple? Me. Glucose for me, meat. Probably meat. I know vegans are gonna downvote me, but when humans first walked the earth, meat was our main source of food. Meat, potato, cheeseburger, hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, Whopper, hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, Whopper, hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, Whopper. I do love the taste of a good burger. Is personally say something with wheat like pasta or bread. Eggs. Less work than crops. You just break them open and eat them. Maybe less work once you have an egg in your hand. But the earth can produce far more grain for cheaper than it can eggs per acre. Remember, to produce eggs you need to raise chickens, which themselves must eat. Earth, oatmeal, salt, pure salt, noodles, grass, rice for over half the planet, potato for the rest. I would say rice. Serious answer, depends where, potato or rice. I'd say Soylent or similar meal replacement shakes. Soylent Green is people, maple syrup for sure. It would be whatever grain is plentiful in your part of the globe. Rice, corn, wheat would be the top 3, I think. Some sort of grain, the whole grain found in the immediate area. Rice, wheat, teff, etc. The base food is wheat or rice. Sugar. Grain. Human civilization is built upon grain. Plants. All meat obtains sustenance from plants. Bread, too, is made by grinding plants down into flour. Fruits and vegetables are the things that can be eaten raw, untouched, without modification, and will always taste good, barring a worm in the apple situation. Bread. I guess it depends on what part of the world you're in. The Americas. Corn. Europe, me. Wheat. Asia. Rice. Africa. Dirt. The Americas. McDonald, you live in a desert. It doesn't matter if you're hungry, anyone with a brain. Bread. Why did you write 2 answers? He's making sandwiches. Zombie. Cannibal. There's no base food, because food is mostly water. So yeah, we drink food too. What a useless comment. Everything is mostly nothing. Might as well just never categorize anything. Breatharian's base food and drink is air. Take a guess. Chucklenuts, maybe eggs or something like vegetables and leaves. Glucose. Seafood depends where you're from, but it's usually the cereal that grows best in your soil. Rice, wheat, corn. Pickles, baby apples.